Hey, it's Craig. I just wanted to let you know that you can listen to Canadian History X early and ad-free on Amazon Music, included with Prime. Greetings and welcome to another episode of Canadian History X. When we take a look at the list of the greatest Canadian boxers, certain names are going to pop up. You can expect to see George Dixon there, and you absolutely can expect to see George Chuvalo. George Chuvalo was described by Muhammad Ali as the toughest guy he ever fought, and that's no exaggeration. He was a man who was never knocked out, nor touched the canvas, and it was said he had the greatest chin in boxing. Born to Croatian immigrants in 1937 in Toronto, Chuvalo's family was incredibly tough. His mother plucked chickens in a factory while his father, who only had one good arm, worked skinning cattle at the slaughterhouse. It was said that when he got his mandated 2 weeks off each year, he would go to work and sit and stare at the two men who replaced him for those 2 weeks. Chuvalo would talk about his mom during an interview following his career.
I used to clean this park across the street here. My mother used to work at Royce Dubon Poultry Packers, just about a quarter mile away. She would come at recess time with a black apron, splattered with chicken guts and blood and stuff. She was a chicken plucker, huh? And she'd run here every day at 10:30, throw over the fence either a pomegranate or a bag of chips, give me a kiss hello, a kiss goodbye, and that would be it. She'd be gone. That went on for my 7 years here. I don't think she missed too many days, you know.
As for Chuvalo, he would become the Canadian amateur heavyweight champion at the age of only 18 in 1955, after he defeated Peter Piper in a tournament final in Regina. Over the course of 16 fights in his amateur career, Chuvalo would finish with a 16-0-0 record, all by knockout within 4 rounds. In 1956, with the nickname of Boom Boom, he turned professional and kicked things off by knocking out 4 opponents in one night to win the heavyweight tournament at Maple Leaf Gardens on April 26, 1956. And he was soon interviewed by CBC about his rising career.
Today he's the top contender. His ambitions for himself as a boxer know no limit. Fight experts agree there's a bright ring future for the boy. Charles Templeton finds out what makes George Chuvalo fight.
All right, George, let me echo Frank's question. What does make Chuvalo fight?
I don't know. Actually, I think it's a little bit of everything. I used to dream of being a champion and stuff like that. Sort of actually want to go into it.
Do you like to fight? Do you like to punch another guy on the jaw? Do you like
That's
this?
right. I actually like to fight, throw a punch, or get punched. I don't actually enjoy getting hit, but just the thrill of combat, the thrill of winning, it just makes you feel. It's something I know I want to do.
Have you always fought, George, back when you were a child on the street with other kids? Did you used to go to work on them at all?
Well, I used to fight quite a bit. I guess most kids do.
You said, I think, that you like to fight. How do your parents feel about that? Your mother and father are both living?
Yes, they are. Well, actually, at first they weren't too impressed by my choice, but they're getting used to it slowly.
I've heard that your mother, who's a very handsome woman, incidentally, I met her, goes to your fights and sits for 3 minutes with her face covered while you're fighting and then looks up between rounds. Is that right?
That's right. Actually, she'd rather go down the fights than she knows what's happening. You can tell by the roar of the crowd, than say rather wait at home than she doesn't know until maybe an hour or so after the fact.
On September 15, 1958, only 3 days after he turned 21, he would claim the Canadian heavyweight title after knocking out James Parker 2 minutes into the first round. He would lose that title to Bob Clareau in 1960, then regain it from him, then lose it from him. His dream was to become the world heavyweight champion, and in 1962 he would reach number 2 in the world. In 1965 he would get his first chance at being world champion when he fought Ernie Terrell on November 1st. Prior to the fight, he spoke about his training during a documentary short film.
Predicted that George Chuvalo would someday be champion of the world. Jack Dempsey has called Chuvalo the greatest Canadian fighter he has ever seen. Chuvalo has never been knocked down or knocked out. But when it comes to the big fight, Chuvalo always manages to lose, often to lesser men. In 10 discouraging years as a professional fighter, Chuvalo has earned little more income than a man who chooses to punch a clock instead of heads. A few years ago, his diet was 12-inch hot dogs. His family lived on macaroni and cheese. Some sports writers say Chuvalo's a one-handed slugger, a loser whose failures are impossible to explain. For months before a fight, and there have been 44 in 10 years, Chuvalo is driven from dawn to dusk. He becomes a machine. His rhythm is polished. His endurance is tested to the breaking point by a relentless team of handlers. Training is isolation, a way of life that has turned George Chuvalo into a monk in a silk monogrammed robe.
Chuvalo would take the fight to the full 15 rounds, and when the bout was over, the media swarmed him, believing he was going to be crowned the world champion. Instead, the referees announced that he had lost the match by decision. Now, there have been many amazing fights in Chuvalo's career, but he is best known for fighting Muhammad Ali twice and going the distance in both fights before losing by decision. The first fight was on March 29, 1966 at Maple Leaf Gardens. Prior to the fight, Ali called Chuvalo the washerwoman, mocking his opponent who had only signed up to fight Ali 17 days previous. Chuvalo got his revenge for the insult by going the full 15 rounds, something no one had ever done to that point with Ali. So let's go back to that fight and see how close Chuvalo came to being world champion.
Live from Toronto, CBC Radio Sports brings you exclusive Canadian coverage of the heavyweight battle between Cassius Clay and Canada's George Chuvalo. This heavyweight fight broadcast is being brought to you by the CBC and its affiliated stations coast to coast. This is Don Chevrier speaking from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, where Dick Meadows and I will bring you the color and action in this heavyweight showdown.
Clay tries to toy with his man, putting a light left, a darting left in the face of Chuvalo, and Chuvalo tries to get in between it and puts a right to the body. Clay doing a tattoo on the chin with the left hand, puts another jab on the mouth. The earnest Chuvalo keeps moving in and then puts a solid right to the body of Clay. Clay is grimacing and is trying to make a fool of Chuvalo. Clay puts two more rights on the chin, another left to the chin thrown by Clay. And Chuvalo on the inside bangs two more lefts to the body. A right to the body by Chuvalo. Two more rights to the body by Chuvalo as he holds Clay against the rope.
You think then that Chuvalo is giving Clay probably the worst time of his career tonight?
As we look up at Cassius now, he doesn't look to be too distressed and too great difficulty, but he is giving him his toughest fight as champion.
12th round, Don Dunphy.
All right, Don Chevrier, there goes Clay to work again, banging a right to the head, following it with a left hook on the jaw, feinting the left hand. He is giving Chuvalo no rest now. He bangs that left hand to the head, and Chuvalo goes in and punches the right hand to the body. But a lot of the steam seems to have gone out of Chuvalo's punches. Chuvalo, however, takes the left hand to the body. You never can tell if they can get that second one, and there it is. A hard left hook to the chin, a right hand to the jaw by Chuvalo. Beautiful punches. And a hard left hook to the jaw by Chuvalo again. Another left hook to the jaw, and a right hand to the body by Chuvalo. And Chuvalo scores with another left hook to the jaw. And he has at least got Clay thinking about it. Clay comes back with a flurry of punches to the head. A right to the jaw by Clay. Chuvalo comes in, takes a right, a left hook to the chin. Chuvalo bangs both hands to the body. Comes three more right hands to the body. And the referee, Jackie Silvers, tells Chuvalo to keep his punches up.
And now with only a round to go, even though Clay has managed to cut Chuvalo, I don't think it's going to force George out on a TKO. As you know, he's hard to cut in the first place. Now that it's gone this long, he'll be around to the finish, and I think we're going to have a full 15-rounder tonight.
No question about that. Chuvalo is as durable as everybody says he is. It's very well known in Fistiana that's what he has. His whole card is durability. Clay is not a knockout puncher. He said this before the fight. He's proving it here.
Right hand to the head. He's trying to knock Chuvalo out now. Chuvalo is desperately trying to score with wild haymakers. He misses the left. Takes the left hook on the jaw.
The decision should be forthcoming momentarily from the ring, and the photographers and newsmen have crowded down now to the point where it's very difficult to see anything but the odd head bobbing around inside the ring. George Chuvalo with the 15th round, and we will hear more of that round later, gave it all he had, Dick, in the closing 3 minutes to try to put Clay down. There's no doubt that George knew Irv Ungerman, who sometimes gets a little carried away with things, must have realized also that Chuvalo's only chance to win would be to tag Clay. I suppose he knew that after the 10th.
He had to knock him out, Don, in the fifth. He had to knock him out anywhere from the 10th round on to win. This was his only out. His big thing about making a great fight of it. This was the thing. The ring is full of people. Looks like a mob scene from the French Revolution or the last time you lined up at a free lunch. Everybody's in there elbowing and posing. Black Muslims, members of Ungerman's brigade, which includes several chicken pluckers. He's in the poultry business here. It's an elbowing mob scene.
Let's get the announcement now from ring announcer Jerry Heff.
Referee Jackie Silver scores Muhammad Ali 73, George Chuvalo 65. Judge Tony Canzano scores Muhammad Ali 74, George Chuvalo 63. Judge Jackie Johnston scores Muhammad Ali 74, George Chuvalo 62. The winner, Muhammad Ali.
It was after that fight, Ali would say that Chuvalo was the toughest man he ever fought. Chuvalo would say following the fight, when it was over, Ali was the guy who went to the hospital because he was pissing blood. Me, I went dancing with my wife. No question, I got the best of the deal. The two would fight again at Pacific Coliseum in Vancouver on May 1st, 1972. Ali would talk about Chuvalo prior to that fight.
You know, I have a feeling that you and Chuvalo quite like each other. Is that a good thing in the fight game?
He's a nice fella, he's a friendly fella, and we respect each other. I can't really say we like each other because I don't know him that well. I have nothing against him, he has nothing against me. I'm not mad at he, nor is he mad at myself. But I don't hate or dislike no opponent. It's just a contest. When we're in there, we're doing our best. We might get a little mad as far as he hit me and I have to hit him back, but never nothing like holding somebody's enemy.
In 1968, he defeated Jean-Claude Roy to reclaim the Canadian heavyweight title, which he would hold on to until 1979. Over the course of his career, Chuvalo would fight several notable boxers, including Floyd Patterson on February 1st, 1965, in Madison Square Garden, Joe Frazier on July 19, 1967, also at Madison Square Garden, and George Foreman in New York on August 4, 1970. By the end of his career, he would finish with a record of 72 wins, which included 63 knockouts, 19 losses but never by knockout, and 2 draws. In all, he was the Canadian heavyweight champion for 21 years. Following his boxing career, he would make over 1,000 appearances across the continent, speaking to students, young offenders, youth at risk, support groups, and more. He also runs the program Fight Against Drugs and encourages youth to respect themselves and make good decisions like staying in school. His work with youth and against drugs comes from the fact that 2 of his sons died sadly from heroin overdoses, while a third killed himself while struggling with the heroin addiction. His work with youth would get him awarded the keys to his hometown of Toronto. The honors for Chuvalo are numerous in Canada and beyond. In 1990, he was inducted into the Canadian Sports Hall of Fame. In 1995, he became a member of the Ontario Sports Hall of Fame, and in 1997, he was inducted into the World Boxing Hall of Fame. The Canadian band Our Lady Peace would put a picture of Chuvalo on the cover of their 2012 album, Curve. In 1998, he was named to the Order of Canada. In 2005, he was awarded a spot on Canada's Walk of Fame. And in 2019, the George Chuvalo Community Centre, a 7,000 square foot facility in Toronto, was opened. A statue of Chuvalo is also on display in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Maybe the biggest honor, though, comes from Panzer's original delicatessen in North York, which named a sandwich after him. The 6-decade-old restaurant has never named a sandwich after anyone, but Chuvalo, a longtime customer, was honored for his charity work in the area. Information for this piece comes from Wikipedia, the Canadian Encyclopedia, Canada's Walk of Fame, Ontario Heritage Trust, Irish Times, Sun Media, and CBC Archives. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Canadian History X, and if you did, please give a rating and review. You can reach me at Canadian History X, that's EHX, @gmail.com, and you can go to my website at canadaxehx.blogspot.ca.